What's up, headbangers? It's time for another episode of Heavy Metal 101 Reviews. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to try to do maybe about once a month to do more like almost like a podcast type video. Probably not as long as your average podcast. But today we're going to talk about our top 5 favorite concerts we've been to, or our best concert experiences. And yeah, that's what we're going to talk about. So without any further ado, I guess we'll have Chris do his number 5, then I'll do my number 5 and on down the line.
All right. So my number 5, I'm assuming this is the bottom of the list, would be 2012, 11 or 12. It was Soilwork with Death Angel, Swashbuckle, and there was a bunch of other bands in Dallas, Texas. And the show was amazing. I've been a fan of Soilwork since almost the beginning. But I will say that was a long, long show. I think it started at 5 in the afternoon, and I don't even think Soilwork played until about midnight. So they had, it was like 5 or 6, kind of local bands that played. And then they had, 2 or 3 like Metal Blade bands that played. And then they had like 3 headliners. And I don't know if you know Death Angel, but it's like this Filipino Iron Maiden. And they play these like 15-minute solos, and like they went into all their encores. And by the end of this thing, I just want to like blow my brains out. But seeing Soilwork, it was all worth it. I had VIP passes to the show, so I got to actually meet Soilwork, which was like a lifelong dream of mine. So that was actually a really cool show. That is my number 5.
That's cool. I've never seen Soilwork. I'm pretty sure I haven't seen Soilwork. So that's interesting. Chris is just waking up, of course, over there in Korea, and I just cracked my first beer the night, so we're on 2 different timelines. My number 5, I'm gonna go with Gwar. So I saw them at First Avenue Club. If you've ever seen the movie Purple Rain, then you'll know what First Avenue Club is. It's a small little nightclub in downtown Minneapolis. Prince used to own it. But anyways, I saw Gwar there, and they're just crazy. They put on a huge theatrical show. They're shooting you with fake blood and alien semen and all kinds of other bodily fluids. So if you're anywhere close to the front, by the end of it, you're snorting out fake blood and alien semen and whatever else. It's just pretty wild show. They even they sell these t-shirts that are white with like white graphics on them. So when you buy them, you can't see them. But then once they get soaked with blood, then the white graphics show up on the shirt. It's pretty cool. I think this was on, I don't remember what year this was, but this was a Halloween night concert. So pretty badass.
What era
Gwar is
was
not
it?
one of my favorite bands. Gwar is not one of my favorite bands or anything like that. It's just the show they put on is you got to see a show of them.
What era was it? Was Dave Brocky and Flatus and all those guys still around, or is it the newer stuff?
It was right after their Lust in Space album. God, what year would it had to have been? It would have been early teens, maybe like 2013, somewhere around there. I'm guessing 14, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's my number 5.
All right. So my number 4, I guess, would be Dimmu Borgir in 2011 with Enslaved and Dawn of Ashes. And I saw that on my mid-tour leave from Iraq. I went home, went with some friends of mine, and they were absolutely amazing. And that was for the, what album was that? Abrahadabra, I think that was the album. Super awesome. Pretty small venue, typical Detroit show. I was disappointed that the female singer wasn't there. That's been a trend of mine, is going to shows and I have this expectation, these high hopes, and a key person is not there, or somebody screws up a solo, or it's a different guitar player. They try to be too flashy. My Pink Floyd experience. But Dimmu Borgir was amazing. I'm a huge fan of Galder, the guitar player. So if anybody knows Old Man's Child, I'm a huge fan of Old Man's Child. Enslaved was absolutely amazing. It's Norwegian Viking metal. And then Dawn of Ashes was something that was new to me. I had never seen them, but what a trip those guys are. I mean, they're all about the imagery, right? So, Dimmu Borgir is the black metal thing. These guys are like on a whole different wavelength. It's black metal, but it's got more, I guess, keyboards involved in it. And their appearance is very disturbing. I remember watching the keyboard player, and he had this kind of like apron on, like the plastic apron with blood all over it. And the dude just like was slumped over the keyboard the whole time. Like, and it was really, really macabre and eerie. But Dawn of Ashes, if you don't know, is a 2-part band. They have the black metal piece, but they also have a aggro EDM, like electronica part of their band. And they produce 2 separate types of albums. So the first time I tried to find them, I found the electronic dance music version. I was like, what is this? And it's still very good. It's dark and eerie and mysterious. But yeah, so if you haven't heard Dawn of Ashes, they're amazing. If you can catch them live, absolutely go henceforth and do so.
So you're probably like me. Like, if I buy tickets, I haven't went to a concert in a long time, but if I buy tickets to a concert and like I don't know one of the opening bands, then I go right out and check out their music as soon as I can, just to prepare for the concert, to say, am I going to be interested in these guys, or am I going to be tuned out while they're playing?
No, I get tunnel vision, and I am there to see one band.
Oh yeah.
And if you catch my attention, it kind of goes like this.
Yeah. Okay, well, my number 4 I have down, and a lot of my choices are going to be more about, I'm pretty sentimental, so they're going to be more about the experience, or what like memories I have attached to the show, probably a little bit more so than the performances. But number 4, I have Ozfest 2002 at Float Right Amphitheater in Cadott, Wisconsin. I was just out of high school, and this was my first big festival experience. Only really like my second concert I ever been to. So it was Ozzy. I think that year was Rob Zombie, System of a Down. Them were the main stage acts. BLS. I know on the second stage there was Hatebreed, Down. And there's always like a ton of bands on the second stage, but just the fact that it was, my first big festival. I'm only 18 years old at this point, and I'm probably really drunk and just having a good time with all my friends. So definitely that one. Ozfest was, really the first like heavy metal festival. I think it was started because they were trying to get Ozzy on Lollapalooza or something, and Lollapalooza wouldn't take him. So then Sharon was like, well, we're going to start our own fucking festival. So that's pretty much how it was. And pretty cool for a while. I don't know how many years they did it. God, must have been a good 10 or 12 years or so. But that was my number 4.
All right, so my number, and these are kind of getting hard to put in order. My number 3, I would say it would be Biohazard in Nuremberg, Germany. And I've been a fan of Biohazard. I remember looking at the cassette tape covers. I couldn't get it because it had the parental advisory sticker on it as a kid. but my friend's brother had it, and we would always sneak into his CDs. He's the one that had, Typo Negative and Biohazard and Cypress Hill and all the stuff, I couldn't get my hands on. But seeing Biohazard was absolutely amazing. Seeing it in Nuremberg, Germany, like added to, kind of the coolness of it, because the theater was over right near where they had that big Nazi pavilion, the one where they show them blowing up the swastika on top of it.
Okay,
Yeah, it was like right near there. Ended up staying at this weird B&B with this woman named Ursula and her man child. That was awkward. But the coolest part about the show was actually getting to go backstage and meet Biohazard. That's why I love shows in foreign countries, because there's not many Americans there, and all you have to do is talk loud enough around them and they'll be like, "Who are you? Come here." Yeah. So yeah, I got to spend the night hanging out with Biohazard, me and my friends. I've got pictures of it. Maybe I can throw one in here.
that's pretty cool. I've been to a few shows where like the band, while the opening acts are playing, like the main act is like somebody's at the bar getting a beer and just kind of blending in, and you go up and talk to them, and that's pretty cool when you're able to interact with the bands that you're going to see. I've actually been able to do that a few times. One of my experiences is on this list, but my number 3 experience is Black Sabbath on their final tour. Caught them at the Target Center in Minneapolis, and they were with Ozzy at the time. It was after they released the album 13, and Ozzy, he couldn't quite sing like he used to be able to do in the 70s. He missed some notes here and there, but the band was just on fire, man. They just sounded so damn good. And I was there with my wife, and we had a whole date night. It's actually kind of interesting because when we were walking up to, because I've been to I don't know how many concerts I've been to. This is the only one that I can remember seeing this. We're walking up and there was a protest. Some religious group was putting on a big protest, and heavy metal equals Satan, and you're all gonna go to hell, and I was having a tough time, like not saying anything to him. My wife was kind of like grabbing me by the arm and telling me to shut up. So, but it was pretty cool. Great show. The Black Sabbath sounded great. Rival Sons opened for them, and they're a pretty cool band too. I wasn't familiar with them at all until I saw them open for Sabbath, but great concert.
All right, so my number 2 would be Ozfest 2004, which, like you, was my first festival. And what an adventure that was. I saw it in Raleigh, North Carolina, when I was stationed at Camp Lejeune. And my car broke down on the way up there. And after like 4 hours of like trying to track down a tow truck through our insurance company, we finally got a tow truck, and the driver was listening to Black Sabbath. I was like, this is a sign, so we ended up piling into my buddy's Caballero, which I don't know if you remember is like the little 3-seater. There was 4 of us in that thing, 4 grown men in a Caballero heading towards Raleigh. We get to Raleigh and we're like, F this, let's go get trash, right? Well, Raleigh's a dry town, so you can't drink in Raleigh. So we had to go to like another town over, and it was nickel draft night. And boy, did we regretted that decision the next day, because Ozfest is a long show. I think we drank until like 3 a.m, and then made our way back to the hotel. I remember throwing up behind the porta-john, like waiting in line to get in. I was so haggard. It was horrible. But I think we got to the venue at like 6 a.m. You almost have to get there. Is that about right for you?
Yeah, I was just trying to think of that as you're explaining that. I was just thinking like it starts at 9 or 10 a.m. when they start playing music. So they probably open the gates like an hour before that. And Yeah, it was definitely interesting because when we went, we were at a campground. So you'd camp and then you'd had to walk through town to get to the amphitheater. And man, I am glad I didn't live in that town during those times, you know. So beer cans in your yard and people passed out in your yard and
If I remember, we ended up we got a cab from this gas station to the venue, but on the way back, no cab would pick us up. So we had to walk all the way back to this gas station because it was the only point of reference we had to get a cab back to the hotel. But it was a fantastic show. I don't remember all the bands that were there, but I remember God Forbid was there. That was amazing. Bleeding Through. I walked right past them in the crowd and didn't realize I was looking for my friend because I was like by myself, and this was kind of before all cell phones, and I don't think I had a cell phone back then. Walked right past Bleeding Through, exchanged head nods with Brendan Schappetti, the singer. Who else was there? Slipknot was on the second stage, but I forewent Slipknot so I could we had lawn seats. So I forewent Slipknot to get a good lawn seat, which the main stage was Black Label Society, Super Joint Ritual, Dimmu Borgir. I think there was somebody else in there, but Judas Priest and Black Sabbath.
oof.
So that was an amazing lineup. I absolutely loved Ozfest. I've never been to one since. But I would warn you, if you go to an Ozfest, anybody listening, make sure you drink water, bring your own water if you can, and prepare for like 15 hours of madness.
Yeah. One other thing that I noticed when I was down there on the floor, when I was still pretty new at the whole concert experience. Like I said, I think it was like my second concert. When anybody was playing, if somebody fell down or whatever, like everybody was so courteous to stop and make room for this guy. But once Ozzy started playing, if you fell down, they just fucking stepped on you. They didn't give a shit anymore. All right, so my number 2 is actually going to be Damage Plan. I saw them at the Quest nightclub, and the reason is because I never got to see Pantera. I really regret that I never got to see them play live. So Dimebag Darrell is one of my heroes. So when I saw him live for the first time, it was really awesome. You know, he's one of those. If you're in the pit, if you're in the front, half of the floor, you're gonna get a guitar pick. Like he throws out hundreds of guitar picks. You're lucky if you get to get one that's actually used. You could, but anybody there that wants one's gonna get one. But anyways, I guess why, besides the fact that this is the first time seeing Dimebag Darrell live, I also got to do the meet and greet after the show, so that was pretty awesome. I remember we were all standing in line to go and meet him, and some promoter or manager or whatever came out and was like, "All right, everybody, don't talk to Dimebag because he will talk to you for an hour. So just get your photograph and your autograph and move along." So I thought that was kind of cool how they said, don't talk to him, but then they had like a different reason than you'd think. But yeah, he talked to, I talked to a little bit, but when you're there, you're kind of like almost kind of too nervous to say anything.
What do I say to this person?
Yeah, what do I say? So by the time I got down to the end, I got Vinnie Paul was at the end, and I was a little bit more loosened up by then. I talked to Vinnie Paul for a lot longer than I did to Dimebag, but really cool experience. And I actually got to see Damage Plan twice, and the second time that I seen him, I think it was on one of the Headbangers Ball tours, and he was murdered like less than a month after that show, I'm pretty sure. So that's my number 2.
I've never seen Pantera nor Damage Plan, but yeah, Vinnie Paul and Dimebag were huge losses to the metal community. All right, so what I forgot from my Ozfest experience is that was my first time seeing Slayer, and wow, what a show. Two, wow, what a crowd. I got to witness the consummate Slayer fan, the one that had the shirt from like 1985, and he had lawn seats like all of us, and he was like, he would look for the guards or the security, like, and he'd pop up over the, this old guy with long hair pop up over one row, and then you see his head pop up like somewhere else down there, and he made it like all the way to the front, and then you see security drag him out. You gotta love Slayer fans, man. I die hard.
Yeah, I have seen Slayer one time, and it is a really wild show.
Yeah, my buddy got sucked into the circle pit. Brendan was there, and then Brendan was gone. And he came back like 20 minutes later, and he just looked haggard. All right, so my number one, as you already stated, was Gwar in Saarbrücken, Germany, back in 2007. So that was kind of it wasn't the old crew, but it was the older crew. And that, like you already talked about the show and how awesome it is. And, I came out looking like I murdered somebody, and it was an amazing experience. But what made it all the much more memorable was the fact that, like Biohazard, I got myself and my friend backstage, and we got to hang out with Gwar backstage, which was not quite what I expected. You expected, strippers and, whatever have you. No, they're all just hanging out, looking on MySpace and chilling. But they opened their beer fridge to us and let us have whatever we wanted to drink, whatever we wanted to eat. The Germans were pissed. We were happy. And we actually went out on the town with Dave Brocky and had, what are those? A doner kebab with Dave Brocky, which we paid for. But, it was fun to have a chance to talk to him. He was a real down-to-earth guy. Rest in peace. Super nice, super smart. He knew a lot about, us. We were in the military, and he knew a lot about what we did. So it was fun to have a good conversation with him and, have dinner with him and just kind of hang out for a bit. I did get a pic from that show from Flatus during the show. And at the time, and I've sold it since then, I just didn't really have time or, a place to put it. I had an autographed shirt, an autographed poster. Unfortunately, I sold all that, which is really unfortunate because it had they would draw like cartoons. Like they didn't just write their name, like they would draw characters from the Gwar universe all over your stuff. But yeah, Dave Brocky and Flatus are no longer with us.
Yep. Rest in peace to those guys. All right, for my number one is a band that I've seen, oh God, probably a half a dozen or more times. I like their live show because to me they sound live exactly the same as they do on CD. And this specific concert was special to me because it was my first concert that I went to with my current wife shortly after we started dating, and it was the Deftones. So I saw Deftones, and this was in 2011 at First Avenue nightclub. And by this time, this is probably the third or fourth time I've seen them, and then I've seen them a couple times since then. But but kind of not to be too sappy, but being that it was my wife and I's first concert together, and we were, falling in love at that point in time. So it's just a memorable concert. And like I said, Deftones are a really good live band, in my opinion. I know some people aren't huge fans of them, but I don't know. I just like their sound. They're a very their music is very sexy sounding. They have like a vibe to them.
Yeah, I saw Deftones. I'd forgotten about that. I saw the Deftones back in 99 or 2000 with The Girl That Got Away. And Taproot opened for them. I don't know if you remember. And it was Taproot, Incubus, and Deftones, which it was in Detroit. So, Taproot were the hometown guys. and God, they put on a show. And that was like right when the Gift album came out. So the singer, man, he went all up through Cobo Hall. He had some wireless mic with a super awesome range, and he just walked around. He wanted to be with his people. So that was a really cool experience. But Deftones was amazing. But they did another thing that kind of pissed me off because, like I said, I go to shows expecting something and I get something different. So for Pink Floyd, which was Roger Waters, they had some young buck on guitar and he screwed up the solo from Time. And that's sacrilege. You don't do that. Deftones, they stopped in the middle of my favorite part of 7 words and broke into a Weezer song, and it was really upsetting.
Oh yeah. Yep. They're big Weezer fans. They always seem to play a Weezer song at every show I go to. Yeah, I don't really like when bands do like medleys and stuff either, because it's like, there's 1 or 2 songs in that medley where it's like, I wish they would have just played that whole song instead of 30 seconds of it or whatever. But all right, well, since we kind of already touched on this a little bit, but before we go, I wanted to ask you a question. If there are any bands that you regret never being able to see, or that you haven't seen yet that you'd like to see soon in the future?
It's funny you asked me that question because I was just watching a YouTube spot yesterday from this old MTV clip of MTV Takes Over Your Space, and it was White Zombie playing at somebody's house. And I'm like, that would be absolutely amazing. And why does this not happen anymore? Right. But that would be one. White Zombie. I never got a chance to see White Zombie. I don't really care about Rob Zombie. I'd rather see it with, Jay Younger and not John Ballin. Yeah. John Tempesta and Shawnee Salt. Rob Zombie's kind of a douche. So I'm not really keen on Rob Zombie, but I would love to see White Zombie. I never got a chance to see Pantera either. Those are kind of the big Metallica, circa like 1983 to 1986, the Cliff Burton era. I wish I could have been there for that. I think that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd definitely say Pantera. Interesting is when I went to my first concert. See, I think I had to have been a senior in high school, and some buddies of mine were going to a concert, and I'd never been to a concert before, and I was like, yeah, I'll go. And we went to, it was Godsmack and Deftones and like Puddle of Mud or something opened for them, some terrible band like that. But like a couple days before, Slayer and Pantera and Static X played a concert. And I just, because I was like a rookie and I didn't know what I was doing, I was like, a couple years later, I'm like, why did we not go to that concert? Why would we go to the fucking Godsmack concert instead of Slayer and Pantera? And that was pretty much, that might have been Pantera's last tour. So that would have been in 2001 or 2002. So it had to have been towards the end of their run. So yeah, just never got a chance to see them. I would have loved to have seen Dio play, either with his band or with Black Sabbath. And I think especially with Rainbow, I would have loved to have seen that. But I think that was over before I was even born.
Yeah, I think we were still a twinkle in somebody's eye when Rainbow was around.
Yeah, that would have been cool. I still haven't seen Judas Priest. My wife really wants to see the Scorpions, but I think they're in Vegas only right at this point in time. So, and then Ramstein we have coming up here in August. We're going to finally see them. They're going to be at US Bank Stadium.
Freaking Ramstein, I spent like 6 years in Germany and I never got a chance to see Ramstein because they only play festivals that last like a week long and there's no schedule. So you have no idea when in this 7-day period they're playing. And it was like twice. And then Rock'em Ring is like, it's like 250, 300 euros a ticket. And it's just really expensive. But yeah, I'm jealous that you get to see Ramstein.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty sweet, especially in that big stadium. But we'll see. I'll report back after we see. It's already been rescheduled twice because it was originally it's supposed to be in 2020, and then it got moved to 2021. Now it got moved to 2022. So I'm hoping the fucking thing happens eventually, but we'll see.
I did get to see Static X, not with Wayne Static.
Oh, okay.
I got to see them on the 25th anniversary of Wisconsin Death trip when they had the guy from Dope, not Trip Ison. What's the guy's name? Edsel Dope, I guess. Doing vocals.
I don't know his name. I know of Dope, but I don't know any of the band members' names.
Yeah. So those were fun.
I have seen Static X twice and actually did do a meet and greet and got to meet Wayne. So yeah. Well, anyways, we'll end it here so we can get some more stuff recorded, and so we're not going on too long. So appreciate everybody watching, and we'll see you again soon. Rock and roll.